Some people light up at the thought of a surprise visit. They thrive on spontaneity, the pop-in, the just dropping by energy. But some of us freeze. Like Jerry in the TV show Seinfeld, he hates the pop-in. I also hate the pop-in. Can you relate? For me, it's not about the state of my house. It's clean. It's always tidy. It's not about my clothes. I'm usually presentable enough. What unsettles me isn't the outside, it's the inside. Because home isn't just a structure, a building. For many of us, it's where the armor comes off. It's where we can exhale fully without running commentary in our heads about how we look, how we sound, how we should be. It's a sanctuary in the truest sense, a space where our nervous system can finally settle. So when someone arrives without warning, it jolts. It shakes the quiet we depend on. The doorbell rings, the knock echoes, the phone lights up unexpectedly. The body reacts before the mind even has time to catch up. Muscles tighten, breath shortens, and the question arrives unspoken. Am I ready for this? And most of the time, for me, the answer is no. I've never been good on the spot. Words scramble when I'm caught off guard. My mind lags behind, trying to assemble the right response while the moment races ahead. This isn't just draining, it's crazy-making, and it pulls me away from myself. So over time, I've built habits. I let calls go to voicemail. I don't answer the door unless I'm expecting someone. I wait to reply to texts until I feel steady. And these habits might look odd from the outside, but they're not about rejection, they're about protection. Because every time I force myself into an encounter I wasn't ready for, I feel it for hours afterward. My energy scatters, my focus dissolves, and I end up wondering why I didn't just honor my own limits in the first place. For years, I told myself this was a flaw. I was just too uptight, too sensitive, and just neurotic. And I carried a lot of guilt for not being easygoing, for not welcoming the surprise, for disappointing people who expected something else from me. And the shame of it stuck deep. That quiet voice that said, you should be different by now. But the truth is, I'm not different. This is how I'm wired, and maybe this will change with time, but probably not. And finally, I've learned to see that not as failure, but as a fact. And there's been such a relief in that shift, a steadiness that comes from saying, this is who I am. Because the reality is, even small interruptions can feel huge. That knock at the door might last a couple of seconds, but the echo travels much longer, and our bodies can hold on. The mind replays it. Did I do the right thing by ignoring it? Should I have answered? Who was it? What did they want? And those questions loop long after the sound has faded. The unexpected call and the sudden question, the surprise request that demands an immediate answer, each one presses against the boundary of my inner rhythm. Each one asks me to give more than I have in that moment. And that doesn't mean I dislike people, quite the opposite. When I know what's coming and I have time to prepare, I can be fully present, engaged, warm. I enjoy connection. What jars my system isn't people themselves, it's that suddenness, the pulling without warning. So I've learned to name what I need: time, space to gather myself before I step into the exchange. And I think a lot of us come to this realization in different ways. Some grew up in homes where calm wasn't a guarantee, so the body learned to be on alert. And others simply found the unpredictable exhausting, no matter how safe the environment. Sometimes it's both, that early tension layered with temperament. Whatever the route, the result is similar. We learn to build systems that protect our equilibrium. We plan visits instead of improvising them. We ask friends to give notice, or as I like to say, if you want to see me, you need to make an appointment. We let calls wait. We treat our time and energy like resources to be budgeted, and that's not selfishness, it's sustainability. And there's a quiet power in owning that, in recognizing that the way we move through the world doesn't need to match anyone else's pace. Because life will always offer surprise. The world will always knock, sometimes gently and sometimes urgently. And while we can't control that, we can decide how and when we respond. And that choice, small as it may seem, Feels like a kind of freedom. And it doesn't mean that the startle response disappears. I still notice the ring of the phone or that knock. My body still reacts. Maybe you felt that too. But now I allow it instead of fighting it. I let the reaction be what it is, and then I decide on my timing, and that changes everything. When I was younger, it felt like every unexpected moment was a test that I was always failing. Answer quickly, smile anyway, push through. And the cost of that constant performing was high. I'd leave those moments depleted, hollowed out, agonizingly replaying them in my head, wondering why I couldn't just be like everyone else. Now I give myself permission to pause, to not answer, to respond later, to say no in that moment if I need to. And in doing so, I find a calm that doesn't depend on other people's expectations. It's respect for the rhythm that allows me to be whole. And the beauty of that respect is that it doesn't just protect us, it actually strengthens our connections, because when we choose to engage, we're there fully, not distracted, not drained, not resentful, present. And when you boil it all down, that's what we want from each other, real connection. So yeah, I will always notice the knock and the rings, and I'll probably always feel the jolt. That may never go away, but in choosing when and how I open the door, I can find peace. A peace that says, I don't need to apologize for needing this way to move through life. I don't need to justify why I need to protect my space, and I don't need to measure myself against those who thrive on spontaneity, because there's room for all of us, both the spontaneous and the steady. We exist differently, and that's okay. And there's self-respect in living this way, the kind that says, I know who I am, I know what I need, and I will honor it.